What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about FeiXiao's Lycon options. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me in the comments what Lycon is probably the best for her. Does she need her Lycon? Does Dr. Ratio's Lycon work? Topaz's Lycon? And overall questions about what Lycon to prepare for FeiXiao. I'll be addressing that question in today's video. But before we begin, if you guys are looking for discounted stellar jades, make sure to check the link in the description for lootbar.gg. The link in the description is going to take you to lootbar.gg. As you can see, they have Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, and Zone 0. Currently, they have a 14% savings on Honkai Star, so you're going to click that. I'm going to buy the $42 pack. This pack is about $49.99, and in lootbar.gg they have it at $42.99. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and go into your menu, make sure that you have your UID. You can go right here and copy your UID, make sure this information is 100% correct, and you're going to make sure that it matches what you put in here. So make sure that matches. Select your server. In my case, it's going to be America, and click top up now. Continue to purchase. Obviously, I'm going to blur out my payment information, but after this, you verify all this, make sure your information is correct. Click pay now. It's going to take a few minutes, so we're going to go in game and see how long it's going to take for us to receive our currency. Let's just go right here and let's. Oh, we already got it right here. 3,080 right there. We already got it. It didn't even take 30 seconds. Now I can summon for my Sparkle Lycon. Check our friends over at lootbar.gg, link in the description below. Before we get into the Lycons that I calculated, we are going to discuss Lycons that you think may be good, but are actually not that great. So the 3-star Lycons, the only one that may be decent is going to be the adversarial Lycon. This one gives you a little bit of speed whenever you kill an enemy, 18% speed for 2 turns. That's a pretty decent chunk of speed considering that her base speed is very, very high. But for this, you are going to make up, you're going to have to make up for the lack of attack in the base in the base attack, and you're also going to have to make up for lack of stats. So it's really not that great when you think about it. These other two 3-star Lycons are not that great. Only Silence Remains is another good option, I guess. At level 80 you have 476, which is the standard for 4-star Lycons, but it gives you at S5 32% attack and 24% crit rate, which is a slight downgrade to cruising in the Stellar Sea, because you get that 40% attack, which is pretty amazing, and then you get the 16% crit rate, which is about a S3 of the amount of crit rate you get from Only Silence Remains. So this Lycon at S5 is going to be just about a little bit better than an S3 cruising in the Stellar Sea, just for you guys that only have this Lycon, just so you can have that information with you. We do talk about swordplay in the calculations. Subscribe for more doesn't really apply to her because she doesn't really do a lot with her basic, and her skills are not doing most of her damage, so we're not even gonna discuss that. River Flows and Springs, also a really terrible Lycon. This is the Battle Pass Lycon, Return to Darkness. I don't think anybody's going to be pulling for this Lycon in the Battle Pass, or wasting the Battle Pass Lycon on this Lycon, and it's actually not even that great. Because you have, first of all, you need several battle passes to max it out. You do get 24% crit rate, which is a hefty amount, but you don't get anything else aside from that. You get this 529. 529 is actually pretty high, so this actually might be a decent Lycon. 24% crit rate is actually it's good if you're having problems with crit rate, but aside from that, you don't get anything extra, and we have other Lycons that give you crit rate and also give you other ways of amplifying your damage. So even though Return to Darkness, you know, theoretically could work, it takes a lot to get this level 5, and if you haven't been picking this Lycon for like the last 5 months, then you probably don't have this S5. The next one's going to be Final Victor. We got this one a few patches ago. 476 base stat, which is not great, and if you have it at S5, you get 20% attack, and then when you crit, you gain good fortune. But this crit damage, this 48% crit damage, only lasts until the end of the wearer's turn, so you're going to have to fire off attacks that crit pretty often, or launch a few attacks that hit. So she could max this out and get 48% crit damage, but we already have other Lycons that are better, and then she really wants crit rate on her Lycon, because if you miss crits with FeiXiao, you are losing in a lot of damage, and you don't really want that. Now, out of the 5-star Lycons, the only one that I'm going to throw in this list is going to be Zealous Lycon, for the reason being that it does give you crit rate, and it does give you a really decent basic attack, scale damage bonus, and crit damage. So all these, except for the basic attack, of course, are things that FeiXiao is going to use. The only problem is that you are going to run, you're going to have to run speed boots on her, which a lot of people are going to be running speed boots. But even with speed boots, you are going to need an extra 23 speed in substats or in another form to make up or to be able to max out this Lycon. And without maxing it out, it's really not worth it. So unless you are one of those people that have cracked speed stats on the Valor sets, then I don't think this Lycone is going to do much for you. Even though it is a little bit of a stat stick in the sense that it has a high base attack, not even that high, it's only 582, which is pretty much a standard. So scratch what I said, it's only 582. The crit rate is nice if you have it, but if you can get her to 160 speed, then this probably would be a good Lycone for you. Otherwise, I don't think it'll work out. For these calculations, obviously FeiXiao is going to be S0, and she's going to be ran in her projected best team, which currently is Robin, Topaz, and Numbi, and Aventurine. For the build, we have 4,458 attack. This is with the Robin's attack buff already installed, the 12% from the relic set. She gives herself 48% damage buff. I don't have the Lycone here because this is not the real number for this Lycone. I just got done calculating all these other Lycones. So, all right, the first thing I want to discuss is going to be the baseline. So this is going to be the damage table of what each individual skill is going to be doing. This is the amount of damage. And then this is how, this is pretty much her rotation. This is taken from footage that it's on the internet. I have some footage myself. And this is generally what her pattern looks like. She's going to scale into a double follow-up attack because her new kit allows her to scale and immediately launch a follow-up attack. And since she just took a turn, the next ally hit is going to trigger a second follow-up attack. And if you have Aventurine, Topaz and Numbi, or Moza, or whatever, odds are your ultimate is going to come not soon after that. And then you just repeat the process: scale, follow-up, scale, follow-up, ultimate. So I took this little chunk of her rotation in a total to about 800,000 damage with the S5. I'm pretty sure this that we have right here is the S5 swordplay. So let's just go ahead and go down the line. Cruising in the Stellar Sea, 827,000 damage. Obviously 0% increase because this is the baseline. The first Lycone we're going to be discussing is going to be Topaz's Lycone, and Topaz's Lycone actually surprised me a lot. The thing with Topaz's Lycone is if you put Topaz's Lycone on FeiXiao, you get almost a 13% damage increase because it is a very, very good Lycone for amplifying damage. That is for sure. The only thing is that you can use this Lycone on your secondary DPS on Topaz herself or on Moza or on March 7th, and you can kind of take a chunk of that Lycone and then use it on top of the other Lycone that you're going to play. So if you take the 24% damage amplification or crit damage amplification that she gets from the tame state or whatever it's called, and you add it to any other Lycone, it's going to outperform this one. So if you have Topaz's Lycone, don't run it on FeiXiao unless you have no other choice. Run it on the secondary hunt character and then put another Lycone on FeiXiao, if that makes any sense. All right, the next Lycone we're going to be talking about is going to be Ratio's Lycone. A lot of people have been asking me about Ratio's Lycone because it looks like it's going to be a very, very good Lycone for FeiXiao, and indeed it is going to be a really good Lycone for FeiXiao because it provides you everything that you need for FeiXiao to do more damage. You get about 44% crit damage, 36% actual damage bonus, and then on top of that you get a 24% defense ignore, which all in all, like aside from the defense ignore, all those other damage bonuses don't really make a lot of a difference with FeiXiao because she already gets a lot of both of those. But the defense ignore does make up for the difference, making it better than Topaz's Lycone. So overall, a very, very good option if you have it. Obviously, I don't think anybody should be running Dr. Ratio and FeiXiao on the same team. So if you have Dr. Ratio's Lycone and you don't want to pull for her signature Lycone, I think it's a good option. I think it's a better option than just putting Crushing in the Stellar Sea or Topaz's Lycone. Ratio's Lycone is just better. So if you have that, just use that. You don't really need to pull for FeiXiao's Lycone because the difference is not really that much. It's about 7.5% difference. Although, if you have other sources of defense ignore, this FeiXiao's Lycone is just gets better the more defense ignore you get. FeiXiao's Lycone gives you crit rate, which is something that I can't stress enough, that if I would rather have a Lycone that has crit rate on it, because if you don't crit on those hits, you are going to miss out on a lot of damage. I know I keep stressing it, but it feels bad when you save all these hits for an ultimate and then your FeiXiao doesn't hit as much because you keep missing 2 out of the 6 hits, you miss the crits. So it just feels bad. So you want to pretty much have her as close to 100% crit rate as possible. And having a Lycone that gives you crit rate is a key part to that. Aside from that, 54% defense ignore is just insane. It's pretty much a Pella with resolution Lycone. That's pretty much what that is. So essentially you have a Pella as a Lycone. just to put it into perspective, you have a Pella as a light cone, and that is how much damage the FeiXiao light cone adds to FeiXiao without taking into consideration the crit rate. So very, very good, very simple light cone, but very, very strong light cone for FeiXiao in particular. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about swordplay because it's one of the better 4-star light cones we have currently in the game. And that S5 is just about the same as running Cruising in the Cellar Sea. The benefit that Cruising in the Cellar Sea has is that it gives you crit rate. So if you already have a comfortable amount of crit rate, then probably swordplay will probably be a good bet if you have it. But if you are not going to be using any of these light cones right here, any of these signature light cones that I discussed, then probably swordplay or Cruising in the Cellar Sea, whichever one you have at S5 is probably going to end up being a good option for you. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I have tried FeiXiao with swordplay. I tried it with Cruising in the Cellar Sea, and she feels better the more crit rate she has. And she's one of those characters that she doesn't feel as strong without her own light cone. I really can't put my finger on it to know exactly what it is, because I've played her with max crit rate with any light cone, and it just doesn't feel as good without her signature light cone. I don't know what it is, but in theory, which is what I do in theory, theoretically, Ratio's light cone works second best. Topaz light cone works third best. But as I said before, if you are running Topaz's light cone, just throw it on March, because you can partition Topaz's light cone's damage and then add it on top of whatever other light cone you have on her. So if, for instance, if you have this swordplay light cone and you add 24% crit damage onto this, then probably is going to be better than this. Than just having this and no other help, if that makes sense. So you can pretty much take advantage of Topaz's light cone without actually having FeiXiao wear the Topaz light cone, because of the whole tame stay debuff that this light cone provides. This light cone also helps Dr. Ratio teams. So if you are going to run a Dr. Ratio team with March, or if you're going to run a Dr. Ratio team with Moza, then or Topaz, either of the three that you're going to run a Dr. Ratio team, this light cone actually helps a lot because it implants an extra debuff that Dr. Ratio can take advantage of. So overall, this light cone, I would pull it. I would just get a copy just to have it, because it's a really, really good utility light cone. And if you already have it, then you're good to go. For Fei specifically, I'd rather you throw in a Cruising in the Cellar Sea because it has crit rate, or throw the Ratio light cone even though it doesn't have any crit rate. Just make sure that you run a crit rate body, make sure you max out on the crit rate. The crit damage, she gets extra crit damage from her teammates, and she gets extra crit damage from the debuffs that her teammates implant on the enemy. So don't worry too much about the crit damage, focus more on crit rate, because you really don't want to miss those crit rates, which is why FeiXiao light cone is probably the best. No, not probably. Is definitely the best, because it not only has crit rate, a massive 54% defense ignore is actually insane. There's nothing much more to say about that. So hopefully this video helps you decide what light cone to run on your FeiXiao. If you have the capability of going for her light cone, it's probably going to end up being the best for you. Or if you already have a Ratio light cone, just use that, like I've said before. Stay tuned. I may or may not be giving away copies of FeiXiao or FeiXiao's light cone for people that can pull FeiXiao but they can't pull their light cone. I may be giving away a copy or two of that, so stay tuned. I may be announcing it sometime soon. I just have to get confirmation. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and until next time, guys, see ya.